the road, but a beginning for Sereno to defend herself. That is how Albay Representative Edsa Lagman describes the Chief Justice looming Senate trial. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Lagman adds there is no sufficient Senate vote to convict Sereno. Can you do that?
Our political mapping is that there would be about 8 or more members of the Senate which will vote for her acquittal. So that will be short of the 16 votes required for conviction. This is a repetition of the same scenario where the arsenal of the government and of the administration is against a sitting or incumbent Chief Justice.
Lagman adds there is no allegation of corruption and dishonesty in Sereno's missing Sal ends. Battle Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno again grabbing the headlines even while on an indefinite leave. Today, the color red was prominent during the Supreme Court's flag-raising ceremony. No words about Sereno, but cheers from court employees as justices joined the flag-raising ceremony spoke volumes. These same justices pushed for Sereno to go on leave, some of them in red ties or with a red accent. Some court officials and employees also seen in red. Sources say it is to show support for the 13 justices who moved for Sereno to take a break. While Sereno is yet to face an impeachment trial, the administration has put up another legal challenge. Solicitor General Jose Calida asked 14 justices to oust their chief. Calida tells Sereno removing her from office through quo warranto is an act of kindness to a fellow lawyer. Calida cites Sereno's failure to file her statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth for 10 years while she served as professor at the University of the Philippines.
The blatant disregard by Respondent Sereno to comply with the requirements of the law and Constitution proves her lack of integrity. Hence, she is unlawfully holding the position of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
But Sereno's spokesperson insists the process of removing her through a quo warranto case is unconstitutional.
If you talk about her and being removed from office, you're implicating the Constitution quickly. And the Constitution is higher than any other law, like the rules of court, where quo warranto procedures are provided.
Attorney, you're saying...
Lawmakers react to the Solicitor General's petition questioning the validity of Sereno's appointment. Joyce Ilas has more.
House Justice Committee Chairman Ray Umali believes it's the end of the road for Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. With a quo warranto petition in the Supreme Court and the impeachment proceeding at the House of Representatives, Umali says Sereno has nowhere else to run.
Hindi ko naintindihan where the Chief Justice is coming from, fighting it out when this is already the end of the road for her. Parang, you know, she's just making things difficult for the country to bear.
Umali believes the consensus among 13 Supreme Court justices to ask Sereno to file an indefinite leave is telling of how the Supreme Court will act on the quo warranto petition.
The unbanked unanimously voting to force her to go on leave. It's end of the road for her because of that resolution signed unanimously by 13 justices. Okay? Magbabago pa ba ng isip yun? Ewan ko. Palagay ko, hindi.
For Ako Bicol Party List Representative Rodel Batocabe, however, Sereno's appointment is valid. He explains the Constitution only requires members of the Supreme Court to be a natural-born citizen, 40 years old, and has 15 years of practice of law.
The Constitution provided for the basic qualification, and we cannot add or delete any of the qualifications. And I don't want to open the floodgates for quo warranto proceedings against impeachable officers, thereby diluting the power of Congress to impeach officials which are categorically expressed by the Constitution to be impeachable.
Batocabe maintains only Congress can remove an impeachable officer from his or her post.
Kung gusto po ng Korte Suprema, pwede naman po sila disiplinahin si Chief Justice Sereno. Pwede nilang suspendihin. Pwede nilang i-reprimand, i-censure, i-warning ang kasama nila sa bilang miyembro ng Korte Suprema.
For Ifugao Representative Teddy Bagilat, the administration is trying to remove the Chief Justice through what he calls are unconstitutional means. because he believes it does not have enough votes in the Senate, which would sit as an impeachment court. Bagilat believes the House Justice Committee failed to build a strong case against Sereno and that the hearings failed to provoke strong public sentiment, which could help the Senate decide on Sereno's conviction. Joyce Ila, CNN Philippines.
Well, good news for cell phone users. Stricter rules and penalties will be imposed against those behind disappearing cell phone loads. In a Senate hearing held today, the National Telecommunications Commission admitted there are erroneous value-added service providers which eat up on a consumer's cell phone load without notice. As a solution, the NTC says it can suspend the registration of these providers. The Trade Department, meanwhile, says it can file criminal charges against these providers as well as against telco companies if found to have violated the rules.
Ang maganda ho dun sa hearing, there was a very clear solution na present. And by the next hearing, which will be end of March, we hope that the telcos will be able to mention na sumusunod na sila dito sa solusyon na to. At yun yung bawat load na ibabawas po sa atin, kailangan po meron tayong notification. At kung nakita ho natin na hindi tama ito, meron tayong oras para i-complain na to at ibalik yung pera po sa atin.
Another U.S. warship has docked in the country, the third in less than a month. American officials say the ship is here mainly for recreation of its over 2,000 crew members, some of them of Filipino descent. Our senior correspondent David Santos has more.
28-year-old Ken Largo has still fond memories growing up with his Visayan lola in Mindanao. His family migrated to the U.S. a decade ago.
Laging di atay, yawa ka, bata ka. Yung mga ganun kasi nagagalit ako, na-stress ng lola ko.
Ken is now among 2,500 sailors and Marines traveling aboard USS Bothon Richard, an amphibious assault ship stationed in Japan. It is the third U.S. warship to visit the Philippines in less than a month, after aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson in mid-February and attack submarine USS Bremerton last March 1. Like the two previous warships, American officials insist there is nothing to be suspicious about Bothon Richard's deployment. Aside from bringing aid to Mayon evacuees, the visit is a routinary port call.
It's a cultural exchange, benefit to enjoy a long and lasting relationship with the Filipino people and quite honestly just to enjoy a little relaxing time.
The visiting American troops will engage in recreational activities including visits to cultural landmarks and even entertainment bars. They've been told to avoid areas like Baclaran and Ermita. Filipino officials, however, do not see the need to put stricter measures to keep the troops from getting involved in controversial incidents like the 2014 murder of a transgender Filipina in Subic.
We have our incident reporting system connected with the police. Pag may ganun na, natitimbre na sa DFA, natitimbre sa amin.
The Bothon Richard is docked off Manila Bay until March 8, then it sails back to Japan and ends its 6-year deployment to Asia when it returns to the U.S. later this year. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte will not attend the ASEAN-Australia Special Summit next week. That is according to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. He said that while Mr. Duterte considers the summit important, the president has to attend to local affairs. That includes the Philippine Military Academy graduation on March 18th. Roque adds the president designated Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano as his special personal representative to the summit on March 17 to 18. We appreciate all your online comments on our top story tonight. Keep them coming through our social media pages at CNN Philippines. We can also see you right now on our Facebook Live page. We will greet you and read some of your comments later on in the show. This developing story from the Korean Peninsula. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is meeting with the South's high-ranking delegation today in Pyongyang. That is according to a South Korean government official. The meeting is believed to be the first time Kim has spoken face-to-face with officials from the South since he took power in 2011. Among the officials to meet with Kim are South Korea's national security chief and the country's spy chief. This is Seoul's highest-level delegation to the north in years, with the envoys arriving Monday afternoon. The trip will focus on inter-Korean relations and conditions for dialogue between the U.S. and North Korea. We'll give you more details on the story as it happens. Here are the other top stories from around the world. North Korea says the United States should not misjudge its intention in calling for a dialogue with a superpower. In a statement, Pyongyang says the U.S. is showing an attitude that leads them to believe it's not keen on resuming talks. The statement comes after President Donald Trump said North Korea had called to express openness for a dialogue, but he replied the U.S. would only agree if Pyongyang abandons its nuclear program. China's de facto parliament, the National People's Congress, opened its annual session today. China's Premier Li Keqiang announced a defense spending hike by 8.1% as the country this year as the country modernizes its armed forces. That is $175 billion, or over 9 trillion pesos, across all branches of the People's Liberation Army.